So in this problem, we have two people that are rowing their boats at a constant speed. They're traveling 55 miles both ways. So we're going to go ahead and fill that in, that the distance would be 55. We know on the way upstream, when they're working against the current, it takes them 11 hours. On the way downstream, when they're working with the current, it takes them 5 hours. Now, if we let X be how fast they could row without the current, then upstream, they would be X minus Y, because Y is going to be the rate of the stream, so they would be slowed down. On the way downstream, when the current is helping them, it would be X plus Y. Now, using the fact that distance equals rate times time, we get 55 equals, and I'm going to use distributive property, 11x minus 11y, and 55 equals 5x plus 5y. Now I'm going to multiply these two equations because I'm going to solve by elimination. I'm going to multiply the top equation by 5, the bottom one by 11. When I do that, 5 times 55 is 275 equals 55x minus 55y. Then when I multiply by 11, I get 605 equals 55x plus 55y. So now when I add, those will cancel. I'll get 880 equals 110x, and then we divide by 110, and I get that x would be 8. But x is how fast they could row without the current. So now if I take this equation and put in 8, we get 55 equals 40 minus 5y. Subtract 40. And that gives me that 15 equals, and that should be plus, 5y, which makes y 3. So the current is moving at 3 miles per hour, and the people could row at 8 miles per hour. All right, looking at problem number 55, we use our rules of exponents. If you multiply with the same bases, you add exponents. So the answer would just be 2 to the 40th. In the next problem, we have an exponent raised to another exponent, and our rules say to multiply those. So that would be 7 to the 40th. On number 59, we're going to combine some rules. I'm going to first of all simplify the 28 over 36. Since those are both divisible by 4, I'm going to take that out and get 7/9. Then you've got x to the 9th over x to the 7th, but we know when we're dividing we can subtract exponents, so that would give me x squared. Y to the 2nd over y to the 10th, if I subtract I get y to the 8th, but that will be in the bottom because our bigger number, our bigger exponent was in the bottom. Now taking our rational equation or expression here and squaring everything, we get 2 squared times a to the 8th, because exponent to exponent we multiply, b to the 10th over 7 squared c to the 0. But recall that something to the 0 power is 1. So that's going to give me 4, because 2 squared is 4, a to the 8th, b to the 10th, over 7 squared is 49. In problem 16, we have a negative exponent. Remember that that means we go 1 over, and then 4 to a positive 3, but 4 cubed is 64, so that'd be 1/64. In 65, we're going to move all of our negative exponents. If you remember when we talked about this in class, I said that if a negative exponent was in the top, you could move it to the bottom and it becomes positive. So x to the negative 16th and y to the negative 4th will now go to the bottom and be positive. And then your negatives in the bottom go to the top and they become positive. So we have x to the 17th, y to the 7th. But now we do need to simplify because we have an x to the 17th in the top and an x to the 16th in the bottom. So those are going to cancel and give me x to the 1st in the top. Then y to the 7th over y to the 4th would be y to the 3rd. Everything's gone out of the bottom, so technically it's a 1, but that's just 9xy cubed. In number 67, we were supposed to use scientific notation and go from scientific notation to decimal. Remember that when my exponent is 4 and it's positive, I move my decimal place 4 places to the right. So this would be 3, 5, 8. And then I'll need to add 2 zeros on. So that's 35,800. When you're adding polynomials, you want to just combine like terms. So 7x squared and negative 5x squared are going to add together. And that's going to give me a positive 2x squared. I'm going to take my 10x and my 17x and put those together and get 27x. And then my 19 and my 13 will go together and give me 32. On problem 71, our instructions are that we are to multiply. So since we have just a monomial in the front, we're going to do distributive property. So negative 2 or negative 5x cubed times 2x to the 4th would be negative 10 x to the 7th. Then move over to the next terms. Negative 20 x to the 5th. Remember, when you multiply, you add exponents. Minus 35 x to the 4th. And then minus, well, actually plus, because it's negative 2 times negative 5. So plus 10x cubed. In the next problem, we have a binomial times a binomial. You want to FOIL. 9a times 4a would be 36a squared. Outer would be negative 36ab. Inner plus 16ab. And then last, minus 16b squared. But combining like terms now, we get 36a squared. Negative 36ab and positive 16ab would give me negative 20ab. And then minus 16b squared. In our next problem, we're going to use, we can either use the shortcut that we're supposed to know for how to square a binomial, or you can just FOIL. So if you don't remember that, then you could just write out 2x squared plus 5y squared times 2x squared plus 5y squared. And then we can FOIL that out. First would give me 4x to the 4th, outer, plus 10 x squared y squared, inner, plus 10 x squared y squared, and last, 25y to the 4th. Now combining like terms, we're going to get 4x to the 4th, 10x squared y squared plus 10x squared y squared would be 20x squared y squared. Plus, and then our 25y to the 4th. Then the next one, we're going to use distributive property, and we're going to take 4x times all 4 of these terms. When I do that, I'm going to get 20x to the 4th minus 20x cubed plus 8x squared plus 12x. Then I want to take negative 2 times everything. And when I do that, I'm going to get negative 10x cubed plus 10x squared minus 4x minus 6. Now the last thing I want to do is just combine like terms. So my highest power is x to the 4th. So I only have a 20x to the 4th. X cubes, I have a negative 20 and a negative 10. So that's going to be negative 30x cubed. X squareds, I have an 8x squared and a 10x squared, so that's plus 18x squared. X's, we have a 12x and a negative 4x, so that's going to be plus 8x. And then the last thing is our constant minus 6. In problem 79, we're going to divide our trinomial by the monomial 8x to the 4th. A lot of times it's easier to just go ahead and rewrite those problems where you divide it up into separate parts where each part is getting divided by the monomial. So you really want to do that when you have a monomial that you're dividing by. So 16x to the 9th over 8x to the 4th, 16 divided by 8 would be 2, and then subtracting exponents we get x to the 5th. Minus 32 divided by 8 would be 4, x to the 3rd, plus 9, and then x to the 4th over x to the 4th would be x to the 0, which is just 1. Now we're going to divide by binomial. So I'm going to set this up like a regular long division problem. Since we don't have any x squared terms, I'm going to put in a placeholder. Now we want to find what would we multiply x by to get 3x cubed. Well, that would be 3x squared. And now we take 3x squared times both of these terms in the front. So we take 3x squared times x, we get 3x cubed, and 3x squared times negative 4 would be negative 12x squared. Now in long division, the next step is to divide, or subtract, which we've talked about means you could add the opposite. So those now would cancel, and I'd have 12x squared minus 39x minus 36. Now we want to find what would x times what would give me 12x squared. Well, that would be 12x. So we multiply 12x times both terms here, and I get 12x squared minus 48x. But then we want to subtract, but that is plus the opposite. Those cancel, and we're going to get 9x minus 36. And then x times what would give me 9x? That would be 9. And that would be 9x minus 36 when I multiply. Subtract or add the opposite, and everything canceled out to 0. So your final answer is 3x squared plus 12x plus 9. In problem 83, we're actually back to working with scientific notation. They gave me the formula that density equals mass divided by volume, and then they give me a mass and a density. So what I'm going to do, we're trying to find out what volume is. I'm going to multiply both sides of this equation by V and get V times D equals M, but I want to get V by itself, so I would divide both sides by D. That allows me to rearrange my formula. So to find volume, I just take mass divided by density. But my mass was 4.52 times 10 to the fourth, and my density was 7.19 times 10 to the negative fourth. At this point, you could just take your calculator, enter that into your calculator, and you will get 6.28 times 10 to the 7th.